Friends, if you've ever held in your hands something bigger than a game controller, if metal, mechanics, and the power concealed in the palm of your hand captivate you, stay right here, because we're about to look into the very heart of a Russian firearms legend. This is a story not just about steel and gunpowder. It's a story about stubbornness, genius, and that one single chance caught on the fly. Don't switch away, it's going to be intense. And yes, at the end, I'm expecting something important from you, your comment and subscription. Let's go. Now, imagine the 90s. Not the glamorous 90s from TV shows, but the real ones. The country fractured, factories idle, the future murky and merciless. And right at this point, where it seemed you should focus on survival, not creation, a group of people in Izhevsk undertake something impossible. They want to make a pistol. Not just any pistol, but a weapon meant to replace the legendary Makarov PM, the patriarch that served faithfully for decades. It's like trying to write a new national anthem when the old one is already carved into the granite of the nation's memory. A task for the insane, it would seem. But it's precisely in such moments that masterpieces are born. And at the head of this madness, a man whose name is now known to everyone connected with firearms.
Vladimir Alexandrovich Yarygin.
But his path to fame as the chief army designer was thorny and far from straightforward. He came not from the stern workshops of combat weapons, but from the world of sports. Yes, you heard that right. His first creations were not assault rifles, but precise, jewel-like sport pistols, the IZH-34 and IZH-35. Imagine. Not the roar of battle, but the silence of a shooting range, concentration, steady hold, smooth trigger pull. That was his school. What's the connection, you might ask? The most direct one. Sporting weapons are the higher mathematics of precision, ergonomics, balance. Every gram counts, every hundredth of a millimeter affects the result. This school of feeling the metal would become the secret ingredient that later would set his creation apart from the rougher army competitors. But let's return to the turbulent 90s. A competition with the formidable name Grach Rook is announced. The country, the army, needs a new pistol, and they needed it yesterday. The competition is insane. Tula, Klimovsk, monsters of the Soviet defense industry, entire dynasties of gunsmiths. And here's this guy from Izhevsk with a sports background. His chances? From the outside, slim. But Yarygin and his team create the Grach 2. And here comes the first major plot twist. They try to make a universal weapon for 3 different cartridges. The good old 7.62 MMTT, the standard 9mm from the PM, and a new modernized one. 3 barrels, modularity, the future. But the future, as often happens, refused to arrive in such a complicated way. The army ultimately changes the rules abruptly. Forget the old stuff. We want the 9x19mm caliber. It's the global NATO standard, a more powerful, serious cartridge. For many competitors, this was a death sentence. Their models simply didn't fit. The country had no money for redesigns. Only 2 remained in the race. Imagine that, Yarygin and Serdyukov from Klimovsk. And here begins the saga of trials, stretching for years. Frost, mud, sand, thousands of rounds. They break the weapons literally to pieces to see which gives up first. And Yarygin's pistol passes almost everything. Seemed victory. But no, history throws another surprise. A third player appears, the formidable Tula GSH-18 from the famous Gryazev and Shipyonov, gods of the Soviet aircraft cannon. And then even a new 9x21mm cartridge. Chaos. The commission is perplexed. And here comes a decision worthy of King Solomon. The generals, after deliberation, say, let all 3 be adopted. Each gets its own niche. But the main prize, the title of the main army pistol, is awarded to Yarygin's creation. It receives the index 6P35 and the name Yarygin Pistol, PA. Why? Because it was the most balanced, the most reliable, the most army in the good sense. It combined the power of the new cartridge, a phenomenal magazine capacity for its class, first 17, then 18 rounds versus the PM's 8. Excellent ergonomics inherited from the sport models, and that very survivability demanded by harsh army conditions. But Yarygin's genius manifested in one more thing. He, as they say, sensed the market. While army bureaucracy decided the fate of the PA, at IZHMech they were already actively preparing its civilian version, the MR446 Viking. It was a knight's move. If the army doesn't accept it, the weapon will live on the civilian market in sports with law enforcement. And he was right. The Viking, appearing in the late 90s, became a hit. First for export and from 2004 in Russia too. Sport shooters adored it. And why? Because it was, essentially, the same army PA, but with an adjustable sight, frame options, steel or polymer, barrels of different lengths. A weapon you could tune for yourself. And it took off. And then, like a snowball, traumatic versions appeared. Vintuk, MR353. Versions for special services. The design lived and evolved. They criticized the 7N21 cartridge. They refined both the cartridge and the pistol. They wanted it lighter? Here you go, a lightweight version with a polymer frame. Need it more compact for concealed carry? The MPA was born. The Kalashnikov concern, which absorbed IZHMech, constantly offered upgrades. Picatinny rails for lights and lasers, new sights, versions with a hammer-fired trigger mechanism. But what truly makes the PA legendary? Let's diverge for a historical note. Russia has always been famous for its weapon of victory. Simple, reliable, mass-produced. The Kalashnikov assault rifle, the standard. But with pistols, the story was different. After the Great Patriotic War, we followed the path of modernizing a proven concept for a long time. The PM is a masterpiece, but a concept from the 40s. The PA became the first in many decades to be a principally new army pistol. It wasn't a copy of Western models. It absorbed the best global trends, polymer frame, high magazine capacity, powerful cartridge, but remained Russian in spirit, unpretentious, tough, ready for hard service. The economic analysis here is also telling. The creation and adoption of the PA in the 90s, it's a miracle. The country in an economic pit, the defense sector on a starvation diet. Essentially, the work was carried out on enthusiasm and the remnants of the Soviet foundation. The fact that the project didn't die, but survived and won, speaks of its phenomenal efficiency and the correctness of the chosen design. And the subsequent commercial success of the Viking and its modifications proved. This was not just a state order, but a product in demand on the global market. It brought in money that could be invested in new developments. This is a success story in the do or die style. And now, looking at the PA or its civilian sibling, the Viking, you understand it's more than a weapon. It's a symbol that even in the darkest times, Russian engineering thought does not surrender. That talent, grown in a shooting range among sport targets, can create a weapon for defending the motherland. That true classics are born not in calm, but in storm. Friends, we've reached the end of this long story. I hope I managed to captivate you with this journey from the drafting board to the army holster. The story of the PA is a movie about perseverance, and it's not over yet. The Kalashnikov concern continues to develop it. And what do you think? Have you ever held a Viking or, perhaps, served with the PA? Do you think it's a worthy replacement for the legendary PM? Or does each era have its own weapon? A live comment from you is the best thanks for this text. And, of course, subscribe to the channel. There are many more breakdowns, stories, and legends from the world of the most reliable iron in the world ahead. Don't miss it. Your opinion is the fuel for new materials, right?